A soldier stares across a battlefield at the arrayed forces of the foe. He sees the carrion birds wheeling high above and senses the gathering storm of violence soon to be unleashed. He is afraid, terrified, and so he prays. A bride stares into the eyes of her groom. He is tall, handsome, charming, so much more than she had ever dared hope for. For beyond his physical allure, he is genuine and kind, his soul a lodestone to her secret self. She sees the gathering witnesses, her friends and family, the curious masses, the officiants, and feels proud to stand before them and declare her vows. She is happy and radiant, and so she prays. A child stares through the windows of a diner at the breads and dishes on display. He sees the people within. They are laughing. They are warm, safe, and satisfied, nibbling at some delicacy, sipping some drink. He cannot help but compare himself to them. He is ragged, cold, and shivering. There is a hollow pit in his belly and week-old wound in his thigh that weeps yellow pus. He is hungry. He's in need, terrible need, and so, lusting for some kernel of warmth, some succor, he prays. But to whom do they pray? Is there really someone listening at the other end of this cosmic telephone? Every world in the Cosmere offers its people a variety of options to choose from, each somewhat unique. The Almighty, the Lord Ruler, Aster God of Colors, the Survivor of Hatson, the Returned of the Halandran Court of Gods, Pachi, the Elantrians, the Dragons of distant Yolan, religion. Here at Silverlight, we have in our collection extensive records from several worlds, histories of their most pertinent upheavals. We have studied them all, cataloging this precious knowledge, analyzing the various manifestations of investiture, and trying to understand as much of this world as we can. Some of it is quite dry, to be honest. I find myself more drawn to the human element than to the mathematics and metaphysics that underlie our world. I have dedicated myself to a study of these obscure religions and faiths, a study of the human heart itself. Long-winded introduction aside, I have made an odd observation that I wish to share with you. While the Cosmere hosts a surfeit of faiths and ardent detractors of those selfsame faiths, the fellows of Silverlight have always known that gods are real. It is often one of the first truths revealed to those who seek to be Cosmere aware. We know that there was God, Adonalsium, who was ancient and almighty. We know of the shattering, wherein this being was slain, its power broken into 16 shards. We know that the perpetrators of this act then took these powers for their own, each ascending into a form of godhood. These shards of Adonalsium became the most powerful entities in the Cosmere. In the millennia since then, they have shaped the peoples on thousands of worlds, shaken the heavens, and reshaped the worlds to suit their whims. This history is the standing stone upon which many religions are based, an ancient truth that is echoed over and over again in the tenets of these belief systems. Now, as the Cosmere grows more and more connected, as incredible fabrials and machines are invented, as world hopping becomes easier, and the cognitive realm common knowledge, the clashes between peoples and cultures and beliefs are become staggering. People are having to take a hard look at things they had thought immutable facts, and the results are fascinating. Now the oddity I mentioned. A strange thing has become obvious among the myriad beliefs of these dozen different worlds. There is curious and consistent mention of a being called the God Beyond. This term tends to crop up when luminaries of those religions take a hard look at their doctrine in light of new revelations. We have had discussions on the events that took place on Roshar, so there is no point in rehashing my opinions on that here. But I trust you will recall my thoughts on the Oathbringer text. The term God Beyond is very suggestive. It recalls to mind the being Adonalsium, who was God. Adonalsium was slain and died. Could some remnant of this being exist, perhaps in the spiritual realm? There have been many discussions and arguments about the supposed realm of the soul. Rest assured that it is very real. Studies of identity, connection, and fortune, as they relate to realmatic theory, have provided conclusive results. Invested arts such as surge binding on Rashar and the incredible abilities of the Order of Bondsmiths are only further proof of this. There is an almost prophetic undertone that has come up in my studies. The idea that Adonalsium will remember us eventually, or that that being will reform or come back in some fashion, crops up here and there. Perhaps the proliferation of this idea is a meme, an oddity no different from this rampant visualization of death as a tall man with iron spikes driven through each of his eyes. A creature that seems very like the Inquisitors, prevalent in the Lord Ruler's final empire on Scadrial. Why would the collective peoples of the Cosmere begin assigning the role of Grim Reaper to this Iron Eyes? As I mentioned, people are very fascinating. I have spoken with certain individuals who have come into contact with the person called Hoyd, an ancient being, if our records are correct. He is said to possess much knowledge and many secrets that could prove pivotal to the future of the Cosmere. I believe some of our more excitable members are presently attempting and failing rather spectacularly to find him. Hoyd or Cephandrius is rumored to have been amongst those conspirators who slew Adonalsium, and yet he has been known to invoke the god beyond. Rather curious, don't you think? The human heart is never more in conflict with itself than when matters of religiosity come into play. The whole matter is a core aspect of most sentient beings. You know my conflicted thoughts on this, so again, there is no use repeating myself. But yes, in light of those discussions, all of this is faintly amusing to the cynic in me. If there is some truth to this God beyond, then that will be a sure answer to the arguments I have expressed before. That is all. Please write me with your thoughts on these observations. You know how highly I value your opinion. Until we can meet again, friend, be well. Postscript. You will be pleased to know that old Belladon has finally succeeded in his experiment. 101 tries, and the old goat has finally done it. All Silverlight is astir with excitement.